Hey, good morning, Beachbody champions. I feel so weird at the beginning of lives every time I do them because it's like a delay and I never know if people are actually popping on live or if I'm a little bit behind. So if you are on live, if you can just give me a hey, I'm here or something like that or whatever it might be because I cannot wait to. Good morning, Jess. How are you today? I'm so excited to get started talking with you guys a little bit about the idea of helping your coaches craft their Beachbody story because it's not something that we naturally do, especially if we're not used to using Facebook in the way that Beachbody coaches have come to do. So before I dive into any of that, I have to start by sharing a little bit of a story that happened this morning. So about 3 months ago, hey Sarah, I decided that I wanted to run my first half marathon. So I decided I'm going to jump in, I'm going to do this half marathon. And I started to learn a little bit more of how to train for a half marathon. And side note, Beachbody On Demand is key. It is clutch for helping me with this training for strength training. So but that was a total side note. But anyways, I started training for this half marathon and I learned about something called negative splits. And I had never heard of this term before. But I learned that the first mile that you often run is your slowest. And it's interesting because every time I run the first mile, I'm learning that I hate it. I'm slow at it. I can't find my footing. I start whining in my head about why in the world did I do this in the first place? And I make up all these things in my mind about running the first mile. But ultimately what happens is by the time I get to that first mile marker, I'm feeling a little bit more confident in my footing and I'm feeling a little bit better. My breath is better, my footing is better, my cadence is better. Everything feels a little bit better by the time I get to the second mile, right? And I thought about this as I often do and how running is relating to my Beachbody business, right? And I keep thinking to myself that first mile is definitely the hardest as a coach because you aren't sure what you're doing. You have no idea if you're doing it right. And even though there's these great Google documents and these great training documents, you still feel like you're figuring out your footing and how it's going to work for you. And as mentor coaches, our job is to be the first mile cheerleaders for our coaches so that by the time they get to their second mile or their third mile or their 10th mile or whatever it might be, they feel like they have this rhythm, this flow to what they're doing. And in my opinion, that starts with a confidence that comes with ownership of our own story. And it's really easy to get caught up as new coaches and think everybody else has a better story than me. My story isn't that exciting. But it doesn't matter what the story is as long as we teach our coaches that the key is relatability, okay? So here's what I'm doing today. I am a teacher by trade. I taught middle school reading. I love my middle school kids because they are part off their rocker. And I think as a middle school teacher, you have to be part off your rocker to actually educate them. And so I'm going to throw it old school as if I was teaching my middle schoolers. And I'm going to kind of walk you through this process. So here's the deal. You just have to listen. Everything that I'm going to say, I'm going to give to you in a Google document. But if you just kind of listen, and I want you to think while I'm talking about your coaches. I want you to think about those new coaches that you've just onboarded in the last 30 days, or maybe the people that are in your challenge groups who you know have this amazing potential to rock being a coach. And we're going to just kind of start there. And I'm going to break it down to a 3-step process. So number one, step one is that you have to, as the upline, understand the power of the story. So as a mentor, understanding that they are coming into coaching with this whole new understanding of Facebook and the platform becomes more intentional to share their story. And so the focus is creating relatability and creating content where they're going to connect with other people, and it's no longer just about social scrolling. So think about it. When you started as a coach, what were you using a Facebook or Instagram for. It might have been to, connect with old friends or share pictures of your kiddos, or it could have been to ask questions about events coming up or things coming up, but it really wasn't intentional. So now we're taking this and we're explaining to them that you're actually building your platform, but you're doing it with intentionality. And so that means that we are purposefully posting. We're creating content that provides value as opposed to just throwing up some posts or asking people or sending pictures of our kids or whatever it might be. And so Beachbody does an incredible job. If you go into the resources, the training centers, anything like that within the Coach Online office, there are past summit presentations. There are on the YouTube videos, and even I was scrolling through the Beachbody Champions page. There's some great information on here too. So that's the first step, is that you have to understand that the power isn't in what the products are as much as how the products work through us as coaches and how they help us and how they have in some way changed our lives, and reaching out to our coaches to help them understand that there is power in their own story when they start to connect that back to the product. So we're getting out of that sell mentality that feels kind of icky, and we're going into the story mentality that feels good. It feels mission driven. It feels purpose driven. And so I provided in the link that I'm going to send you a couple of my favorites that I have used to help coaches sort of create that. So that's step one, is understanding as the upline there's power in the story, and you are teaching them that their platform is no longer just scrolling. Their platform has to be about purposefully posting. That's step one. Step two. Okay, so this is gonna get fun. Actually, I'm gonna haunt you for a second. Back in the day, when you were in middle school, do you remember, and I really want to know if anyone's going to comment, do you guys remember when you had to learn MLA or APA format, and you would have to create this outline, and then you would have to work to prove your outline? Do you actually remember that, or am I just kind of showing my age? Somebody, I know Brittany is on this call, and I know that we did it in high school, so I know that you remember. Yeah. Okay, so when you are thinking about the outline that you create, so you would have this thesis statement, right? And when you had a thesis statement, what did you have to do? You had to prove your thesis statement. So as coaches, our job is to prove why we are coaching and why our products offer value. So I think of it as an opportunity for our new coaches to kind of create content in understanding why they are coaching. And I explain it like this. We have this great vision of what we want for our businesses, right? So we have this idea of where we want to go. And new coaches are like, that sounds pretty for you, and that sounds great for you, but I'm just trying to get my Shakeology paid for. Or, I'm just trying to stay accountable to my own goals. So once you kind of help them create what their vision is for what they want in their vision, their business, whatever that is, let's not try to make it this huge, complicated thing. Meet them where they are, and then remind them how to walk your why. Meaning, how do you take the steps to actually arrive at your vision? Well, that first is breaking it down a little bit into understanding why you coach. And it's so easy, because if you look at it as though it's a thesis statement, like what are 3 reasons why you coach, you can then start brain dumping with them a little bit to help them create ideas. So I'll walk you through what this might look like. So first, you might say to your new coach, all right, describe where you were before you actually were introduced to Beachbody, and have them create for you sort of a visual of what that might look like, and allow it to get messy. Get out a piece of paper with them, or maybe you're on a Zoom call together and you are screen sharing, and so you guys create together. Okay, this was what my life was like before Beachbody. I struggled with my weight. I had no understanding of nutrition. I was a failed Monday gym goer. I was really uncomfortable. Or maybe it wasn't so much fitness, but maybe you were lonely as a stay-at-home mom and you weren't communicating with other people throughout the day, and it was driving you crazy. Or maybe, you want to talk to them a little bit about what their first experience with actually seeing Beachbody was. Were they sitting at home at 10 o'clock at night eating a bag of cheese puffs and they were watching an Insanity infomercial? Or did they keep seeing maybe a college roommate posting about these Super Saturday events or this Coach Summit event, and that's what drew them to that opportunity? So really help them paint the picture of what connected them to the idea of Beachbody or their first introduction. So that's one thing that you're going to brain dump on. The second thing that you can brain dump on a little bit is describe what they have experienced. Have them describe to you what they have experienced because of Beachbody. All right, so what that might look like, what that might entail is, were they getting great results with the accountability in the groups that they were a part of? Or maybe so far they've really experienced something cool with being a part of a team environment. Possibly they've had small wins as a challenger or even as a coach to begin with. Maybe they're starting to experience the opportunity to get things like their groceries paid for. Or maybe by being a coach and having the accountability of the group that they're working with, they have been able to lose those last stubborn few pounds. So any experience they have had with Beachbody, either as a challenger or as a coach, have them mind map that for you. Have them brain dump that information for you too. So you have a list of things that describe where they were before Beachbody and what their first introduction to Beachbody was. And then you have a list of things that they have experienced because of Beachbody. So once you have those two things, you can then create your thesis statement. And so your thesis statement is a combination of those two factors, but they're describing why they've decided to coach based on those two bullet points. But it should touch on one of the following reasons. It should either be because they have themselves experienced or have seen the experience of a physical transformation. They have seen or are excited to see, or they are experiencing a financial change because of the benefits of being a coach. And the last one is the emotional one. And this is the one that I think some people tend to shy away from or don't really focus on enough, is how being a part of a team environment can make an impact on other people. And a lot of people are looking to be a part of a group, a part of an organization. And why would people not want to be a part of something like Beachbody? You're surrounding yourself with so many positive people on a regular basis, and it's such a big part of why so many coaches are successful, because they have that emotional ability to relate to people, to be candid with people. And that should be part of it as well. So once you sort of have brain dumped all of this information, then you can take it to step 3. So you should have a messy list of just everything so far that they have experienced with Beachbody. And then step 3 should be about your technical tips. And this is all the things that new coaches can tend to get tricked up on. And these are the kind of things that they worry about, like they're not going to look right, or they're not going to have all the right information, or they're going to say something wrong. And this is whereas a coach, you're that first mile coach again, where you're assuring them, you're like, this is where you find your footing. This is where you can start putting your story out there. This is what people need. You are being relatable. You're giving them that confidence that their story matters, that you as their coach are benefiting by helping them, because it's reiterating exactly why you as the upline love Beachbody too. And so the technical tips are really how we make those posts look eye-catching, whether it's a video or it's a post. This is where you share your technical tips. So for example, this is a very easy tip, but when people put posts out there, it's easy to remind them to bullet point. Unfortunately, as a reading teacher, I know that a lot of people actually don't read very clearly unless they feel like they're short paragraphs, so we can trick them a little bit into reading more information. So one of the technical tips I give my coaches is to bullet your information. Use short sentences. Have a catchy or a witty phrase to begin with. And so a lot of times I myself will start sentences with dude. I don't know why. I think that's just how I talk, or I'll say things like legit. I cannot even. And so I actually am starting to speak and I post how I talk. So if you sort of know your coach's words and their manner and how they speak, remind them not to be formal on social media. This is all about being you, all about being relatable. A couple of the other technical tips, emojis work really well. So I'll often start with like little stars and they catch, or I'll tell my coaches, like, you know, share another part of your life on social media that doesn't have anything to do with Beachbody. So for me right now, it's sharing my half marathon training, and I always start it exactly the same. I start it as day, fill in the blank, and I'll put in, you know, a little emoji that's a runner or something like that. And it catches. It's something that people keep seeing, but it's short and it's sweet and it's to the point. Hooks, quick, witty, depending on personality, short and sweet, bulleted short paragraphs. Oh, and then I use Canva for everything. Canva or PicMonkey for my images. So Canva's great because they have the app on the phone too. So anytime I'm working on my phone, I can actually just take it and it's on my computer. So if I start it on my phone, it's already on my Canva on my desktop too. So I can do it either place as well. And they already have the layouts, like so totally awesome for Facebook posts or Square posts or whatever you're going to use them for. Okay, so those are the kind of the technical tips that I really like to share with my coaches. And then lastly, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, your story becomes your invitation. You know, you are somebody who wants to remind their coaches that this is no longer just Facebook scrolling. You are purposefully posting, which means that each post is an invitation to either A, learn more about you, or B, a specific call to action where you're inviting someone to a challenge group. And you have to kind of let people see that this is their purpose now behind those posts. Number two, and this is so simple to remember, that you want to focus on being interesting on your own wall. You know, what you have to say, and my power is going a little crazy. I hope it's okay. You want to focus on being interesting on your wall. But when you tell them about, and I think that Shane is going to be talking about this in a couple days, but when you start having conversations with people, you focus on being interested in what they have to say. And so that's what we're building now when we're creating that story, is interesting. We're focused on being interesting and being real. And then number three, our focus in the personal invitation. Whenever Shane does talk about this, I'm sure she's going to say, keep the focus on them. Ask the questions in there, but don't be afraid to address some of the questions right on your wall, right in your post, right as part of your story as well. You know, where were you before you started that Shakeology? What did you think of Shakeology before you started? And where are you now because of it? And then I have, just really quick, a couple of upline action items for you, because you're, as an upline, you are their mile one mentor, which means that you got to do a couple things to help them out, okay? We're going to keep it easy. Number one, set a schedule when they will go live with their first story post. So when is a good time for your coach to actually go live and share that post? But as their upline, check it first. Give them feedback. Give them constructive criticism that allows them to see that you're there to help them. You know, what is their specific action with that post? What do they want to be able to get from it? And then provide support for the next steps after sharing the story. Give them a little bit of information about what to expect. You know, what can they do if they don't hear a response? Or what do they do if they have that person interested and they're a little bit nervous about that? And then lastly, have them send sample posts to you. Or if you have sample posts, even better, send them to them so that they can get a feel for what they can do. And the last thing that I want to remind you is that every story matters. No matter what your story is with Beachbody, somebody is going to connect to it. You know, just like I said with my middle school kiddos, they really related well to characters in books because of overall themes, because of overall struggles, because of overall, you know, just obstacles that those characters faced. Well, life is the same way, right? We want to relate to people. We want to relate to other people who have seen a struggle and have overcome it. So guys, I'm going to give you a couple minutes. I don't want to go over, but I might. Kevin Shaw, don't yell at me. Does anyone have any questions about sharing the story? Is there anything that you want me to touch on? And I'm actually going to give it to you right now. I'm going to send that your way. So this is the Google document. It has all of the information that I sort of just walked you through, as well as a couple of sample posts for you to check out as well. And feel free to make a copy. Feel free to check it out. I'll give you guys another second too if you have any questions. Cool. Yay! You're welcome. You're very, very welcome, Sarah. Congratulations. Is there anything else you guys have? I feel like I talked really fast. All right, so guys, take a minute to look after that information. And then from there, make sure that you guys tune in, because there is an awesome, awesome lineup of coaches who are going to be coming to you live within this page. So much valuable information. And just lastly, just remember that the story matters. You know, your story matters, your coach's story matters, and the more people that get a hold of the stories of the impact that Beachbody is making on other people, the more impact we make on a whole. Okay, per day, I never recommend more than one. And Shane, I only have my coaches do maybe 3 a week. But we do a lot of relatable posts, so like real posts, like real talk posts is what I'm kind of teaching them to do. So, and then I do a lot, I try to teach them too, like I do about 3 posts a week about Shakeology as well. Cool. And reaching out to other dudes. It is hard to get guys to open up. So, okay, so Jeff, my tips for you, what I have seen work well for the men on my team is they do a lot more with personal messages. They show a lot about the experiences on their wall, and they leave a lot of open calls to action where you're allowing questions into your posts, where you're actually putting people in that position. So when you're asking those questions, they start to see themselves in the relation of what you're posting, or in the context of what you're posting about. But when you're having those one-on-one conversations with people, it becomes easier to just backtrack and talk about those posts that you did. And that's where I often find that men have a little bit more, they have an easier time relating on that level. Cool. All right, is there anything else? Okay, so that is all I have for you, and the documents in there are there for you guys to use, and I hope you all have an awesome day. See you guys.